Edmund, bastard son of Gloucester, has arrived in time to see Lear divide his lands amongst his 3 daughters. Goneril goes first and says
I love you more than words can wield the matter.
Regan then says that
I am alone felicitate in your dear highness love.
Cordelia then says
Nothing, my lord.
Which makes Lear very mad. Lear disowns Cordelia. Kent stands up for her, but he is banished because he goes against the king. King of France marries Cordelia.
She is herself a dowry.
Edgar tricks his father to think that Edgar betrayed him, and tricks his brother to believe that his father is mad at him. Goneril confers with Oswald and lets him know to treat Lear coolly. Disguised Kent then meets Lear and becomes his servant. Lear and the fool cavort wisely, and the fool remarks on how foolish the king was to disown Cordelia. Goneril demands that Lear limit his army, and he bolts in a fury. Lear sends a message with Kent to let Regan know that he will be coming. Meanwhile, Edmund stages the fight and makes Edgar flee. Believing Edgar committed a traitorous act, Gloucester makes Edmund his legitimate son. Meanwhile, Kent picks a fight with Oswald, which lands him in the stocks. Edgar decides safety is in madness, and that...
Nothing.
Meanwhile, Lear arrives at Gloucester's and is furious about Kent's condition. Lear tells Regan about Goneril's treatment towards him, and Regan has to agree with Goneril that they should reduce the knights to 1. Lear storms out with the fool, and the doors are closed on him. During this time, Kent sends a message to Cordelia to meet him in Dover. As the storm rages, Lear says, Back in the castle, Gloucester reveals to Edmund the letter of the invasion and says he will find shelter for Lear. In the storm, Lear, Fool, and Kent stumble upon Tom, or Edgar. Gloucester finds them and leads them to shelter. Cornwall bestows Edmund, Earl of Gloucester, for betraying his father. Lear, Fool, Kent, and Edgar conduct a mock trial against a stool. Gloucester is found, and he is blinded by Cornwall. The servant stands up for the injustice done to Gloucester and mortally wounds Cornwall. In return, he is wounded by Regan. Cornwall then takes out the other eye of Gloucester. Meanwhile, Edgar finds Gloucester wandering to Dover and becomes his guide. Goneril sends Edmund back to Regan and Cornwall to lead the powers. Albany rebukes what Goneril has done to her father and family. Goneril receives notice that Regan has become a widow and sends a letter to Edmund to kill Albany. Cordelia, back in England, orders Lear to be found at all costs. Back at Gloucester's, Oswald refuses to show the letter to Regan that Goneril has written. Edgar brings Gloucester to the cliffs of Dover to commit suicide, and he is remarkably saved. The French army has now found Lear, but then he runs away. Oswald finds Gloucester and proceeds to kill him, for his life is wanted, but himself is killed by Edgar, who protects him. Edgar then finds the letter that was addressed to Edmund from Goneril. Lear and Cordelia are reunited right before the battle begins. Albany delivers his speech to his men and prepares for war. Edgar, in disguise, gives the letter to Albany that was from Goneril.
King Lear has lost, he and his daughter ta'en.
Edmund gives a letter to the captain which says to kill Lear and Cordelia once they reach prison. After the battle, Edmund is made the master of Regan, and for some reason achieves becoming quite sick. Albany takes this moment to convict Edmund of capital treason. Edgar then fights Edmund, and Edmund is mortally wounded. Albany and Edmund are there told the tale of what happened to Edgar, and learn that Gloucester is dead. Before Edmund dies, he tells that he has planned to kill Cordelia and Lear. News is brought that Goneril has committed suicide and has poisoned Regan. He enters mourning the death of Cordelia, and shortly thereafter dies himself.
The oldest hath borne most. We that are young shall never see so much, nor live so long.